and enjoy our discussion tonight. We are doing Cheaters Exposed, right?
Yes.
Right, okay, that's the topic for tonight, Cheaters Exposed. So if you're a cheater, definitely, tune in.
Or don't.
Or don't, yeah, that's true, or don't. Don't get your secrets revealed. So here's the well. We believe we're the Unchurched Church. We want you to come in. We want you to enjoy it. Become the well. No, encounter the well. Become the well, then emerge and share the well. We believe in 5 P's. Our 5 P's are purpose, passion, promise, power, and somebody help me on the 5th one. Peace. Purpose, promise, power, peace, and passion. Those 5 P's. Everything in the well should, everything we do here tonight, everything you see should convict one of those things in you to discover what God has for you from one of those 5 P's. What else? What am I forgetting, guys? What am I forgetting? Is that it? Glow sticks. Oh, so listen. Don't be alarmed. If you see people throwing these, or these like fly by the camera, that means that somebody is saying something good. That means, you know how like Jennifer Hudson when she throw her shoe, we throw glow sticks. I'm the only person that's licensed to throw them at people's heads. So if you see one go towards the head, it's me. I love you. We like also like and share this live, please. Get us so we can get as much exposure, so as many people can encounter the well, become and emerge and share the well. Please, 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 please. Also, did you want to do the give? Or you want me to do the give? If you would like to give, we are on Facebook at Encounter the Well, on Facebook and Encounter the Well on Instagram as well. We have our website, which is www.encounterthewell.org. Please go visit there. You can see our upcoming events, everything that we have planned, our series. We're in the process now of updating that and making sure we're on top of that. So please come and see what we got, what we're doing. If you would like to give, as we know, everything takes money. If you would like to give, text any dollar amount to 84321. And text a dollar amount to 84321, and then once you do that, it will send you a link and you will follow the prompt from there. Next, our other squad member, which is our leadership team, is coming up to pray. Clap it up for him as he comes. Come on, Louise. Woo!
A little shorter than him, so.
That big old head is in
it. Let's get ready to pray. So, gracias Dios por darnos este día. Thank you God for this beautiful day. Te pedimos paciencia en el proceso de cambio. We ask for patience in the process of change. Te damos gracias por el cambio que necesitamos. We give you thanks for that change. Te amamos siempre. We love you always. Amen.
Amen. All right, y'all clap it up. We are live at the well. Is it on my page? I shared it. Yeah, I did a watch party. If you haven't liked this on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you're watching from, go ahead and like it and share it with the folks that you think might watch this. Our topic tonight is Cheaters Exposed. It's going to get juicy, and it's going to be really interesting. I worked up to come into this, and you all don't get to see all the fun that we have before this, but we do have an artist every week who comes out and shares with this. We have an icebreaker, and we have some snacks, and maybe sometimes even some food. So you're always welcome to join this, and I'll send you the address when we're at the network studio. If we're not in the studio, we have different churches we're in partnership with. If you want to be one of those churches that partner with this, feel free to reach out. You can DM us or reach out to us on social media or do our website, and we'll get back in touch with you. All right? Cool. Everybody say Cheaters Exposed.
Cheaters Exposed.
All right. Anybody aware of some good scandals that are happening lately in media? Everybody should know a little bit about some of the folks that have been cheating out here in these tabloids. If you watch Wendy Williams, you know that Wendy Williams and Kevin Hunter have just gone through a major separation. Anybody remember Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt went through their separation? They didn't separate, but Beyonce and Jay-Z had a falling out. Everybody remember the elevator incident with Solange in the elevator?
He sure does.
Yeah, he does. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton.
Oh, that's old. You gonna go all the way back there?
I'm trying to make sure everybody that's watching is in too. Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore, Tamar Braxton, Anthony Weiner, and whoever.
Speaking of cheaters,
and whoever else you might can think of. Anybody else? Just throw a name. Somebody you found out that was cheating that was on in celebrityism.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. I think he was. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, Kevin Hart.
I mean,
T.I. had something, right?
every insert rapper
Tiny.
kind of like normally. So
Yeah.
Name a rapper,
R&B
insert
star.
name.
Name a rapper, insert name.
So like cheating is like something that's sort of like, I don't know, it really pulls us in. Like the gossip column and the hot topics of the day, whenever somebody's cheating, it always pulls us in for some reason. And we're always, I don't know why we want to be in everybody else's business, but we're so intrigued by when things like that happen. So I want to start out, before I even get into a scripture or anything, I want to ask a question. Has anybody in here or anybody watching, feel free to comment, and you can keep up with us. Has anybody here ever been cheated on, ever cheated, or ever known a family member or friend that is cheated, or thought that you were cheated on?
I plead the fifth.
I know a family member.
Yeah,
family member too.
me too. I got a couple of family members.
Random people outside.
I know a lot of family members.
Names, but they just outside though.
The Raggedy Dogs. The question is
So are you a cheater? No.
Well, the question was, have you ever, or has anyone ever cheated on
Yeah.
you?
The
Or
people
have you
cheat
ever
on,
been
they
through
cheat
that?
on me. Yeah.
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 When it happened, my next follow-up question is, what did that make you feel like? What were the things you went through? What emotions? What reactions? What were the things? Or the people you know that
I
cheated or
think
got
me and
cheated
Ben
on?
sympathize when we both talk about revenge.
Yeah, it makes me feel
It's a
angry.
very strong feeling.
Yeah,
And I
It can be
cried.
expressed.
yeah.
It can be expressed.
So you wanted to have revenge. You wanted to get revenge.
I got it.
Thanks. All right.
there's conviction in his voice.
I got it. You like relived it, like
What does it look like? What is cheating? What is cheating? How do we define that?
Depends on what
look
species you're talking about.
Breaking a promise to someone?
Women is more emotional. Men is more physical.
Oh man,
Uh-oh.
they be ready to
actually
kill
disagree, bro.
everybody.
I think men and women are just as emotional.
I'm just
comes
saying,
out
like,
different
females are more
ways.
likely to step out on you because of how a dude made her feel, whereas guys more likely to step out on you on how a girl looks. Like
Touche.
men, most of the time. You may be the exception, but I'm talking about the mass majority of the time he's stepping out because it's like, yo, you know, it's more of a physical thing for men, whereas it's more of an emotional thing for women.
But see, I think the only reason why I don't disagree, and I say that as a man, the only reason why I disagree is only because in that instance, majority of males only express themselves through actions. They don't know how to properly formulate their emotions.
Communicate.
Because of the way that, and you know, in a lot of cultures, I'm not going to be specific, but in a lot of different cultures, emotions being expressed is not accepted.
Yeah.
So
True.
you don't know how to express your emotions, so you only do what you can do, and that's act out. So it's the same emotion where as you may have a female crying, but then you may have a male being highly disrespectful and no one knows where it comes from. They're all emotions, they all come out, and it's all based on the same thing.
Speak. Preach.
Yeah. Anybody else defining cheating, or want to talk about your experience with it?
I'll find what I said.
or your experience watching it. If you had a family member that went through it, and
So you know I watched that
I
show.
say, wait, what watched?
no.
It was the show Cheaters.
It's a mall.
They're trying to make us incriminate ourselves.
There's a random moth trying to destroy you.
This is live, right?
Yeah.
That's live. It's more live.
You smacking your face.
So, I think cheating is breaking the commitment that you had with one person, be it either physical or emotional. Because a lot of people define cheating just as the act, but you have them dumb conversations with other people online, and then you end up giving your emotions into that and taking them out of your relationship, or because you're giving those emotions into those conversations, your relationship lacks. So that's cheating as well. So I mean, cheating is giving anybody else. No, cheating is doing something that you don't want your mate to know with another person.
That's a good way to define it.
Sure, yeah.
Very good definition.
Does anyone disagree?
Nah.
So doing anything that you wouldn't want
Your mate to know.
to know.
Can be considered.
Or anything your mate would want you doing.
So do you think you always know when you're cheating?
Yeah. Who don't know when they cheating? If you're an adult, I mean,
Sometimes.
that was like 15 when you was like, oh yeah, I just like her. Him. I mean,
Most of the time, no. 99.9%.
That's it. Take the people off, man.
I mean, I've been just full transparency. I've been on both sides of that equation, where I've been the person doing the cheating, knowingly, and there's been times where I've been cheated on.
cheated?
Yeah. I'm an adult. I lived a little bit. Not always right, but yeah, man. I mean, I agree with what Eddie was saying. I know, there's a certain emotion that comes along with the idea of it. I mean, even when you're doing it, and there are different. It's hard to explain how you feel doing it. It's easier to explain how it feels when it's done to you, because I think it's sometimes easier to express a negative emotion.
Yeah.
Because it does. It sucks. It feels horrible. You will change some things about how you go about everything else in your future based on this one person, this instance. Whether you forgive them or not, it changes the way you look at people, the way you trust. That's why people have so many walls. But I mean, like I said, been on both sides of it. It's just, even on the other side where you're the person doing the cheating, I don't know about, I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak from my personal experience. It comes with a certain level of guilt that you just don't tend to shake, especially if you're doing it knowingly. It's just a tough road, I think, when you think about cheating. It's a roller coaster of emotions. Whether it's right or wrong, it's a very common thing, I guess. It's kind of human, but it's a roller coaster of emotions in regards to it. It's a mess. It's a whole mess. And like Jojo said, it's not always physical. Like you can sleep with somebody, something like that. It could be they listen more to you. You know what I'm saying? They understand more to you. They don't pressure me the way you pressure me, or like stuff like that. The expectation that this person has, they allow me to be like all kind of stuff. So it's really hard to express what cheating is per person, but I mean, either way, it's definitely an emotional experience. I think it's the best way to describe it. I'll go with Eddie on that one.
so online we have two people that have commented. One, it's Portia, but it's our friend Portia. Hey Portia, through Monroe Rain says, so I agree and disagree. I've cheated and it wasn't emotional. And then we have Lauren Rosario, right? She said, I think it's also opening the door to opportunities for the violation to occur. So even leading someone on can be considered cheating because you're not upfront with them about your relationship. Shireen Harris said, cheating is betrayal.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Definitely.
So, with all of the emotions that we just kind of thought about,
Can't get it right.
those of you who are at home, we definitely have a moth in the flying around. So y'all let's see us waving. Y'all don't think we ain't crazy? Everybody got the spirit. It can evoke a lot of emotions. What I hear is that there are a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, a lot of hurt, a lot of anger, a lot of grief, maybe. Right, you just go through a lot of different emotions. Somebody said roller coaster of emotions. I'm curious, what if we were to use these same stories and metrics and compare them to our relationship with God? How that would look.
I cheat on God all kinds of times.
So this evening, we're going to ask the tough questions and check in to see if we've been cheating on Jesus. Whether or not we've been subjecting Jesus to the very same behavior that we've been judging others for. Tonight, cheaters are exposed.
I know you're trying to expose my cheating on Jesus.
Let you know now.
Like some other people.
I'm going to read a scripture from you. So Exodus, in Exodus we find where anybody know anything about Exodus where Moses and,
Frees the Israelites from Egypt.
right,
Mhm.
right. So he frees the Israelites from Egypt because they were kept captive by Pharaoh, and so Moses was sent by God to get his people away from Pharaoh. So God orchestrates some things, and Moses is leading them out of Egypt into freedom. All right, I did a sermon one time called Ghetto Mentality because what happens was I sort of referred to the Israelites as getting out of the ghetto, and then they get into freedom, and they don't know what to do with freedom. Mm-hmm. They're like, I don't know what to do with this, and so they start complaining. It was better back in the ghetto. It was better back when I kind of at least knew where my meal was coming from, even if it was just honey and sugar. I was getting something out here, and what was so horrible was that God really was good to them and was leading them the whole time, even in the midst of nothingness. But they were like, but we were sure then. Out here, we got to trust that somebody we don't always see is going to give us what we need. And so they wanted to go back. And so they get out there and they start to raise their own gods. They start worshiping false idols. They build statues. They start turning to all sorts of different ways. They get sinful and prideful, and they begin to turn to their own wicked ways, even though God is in the midst and God is leading them and God is following them. So Moses is led to go up into this mountain, and anybody ever seen the Ten Commandments movie?
Come on around Easter.
That's right, it comes on every Easter. And Moses comes down with the Ten Commandments on these tablets. And I'm just going to read the very first couple ones here in Exodus chapter 20. And it says, the Ten Commandments, and God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, out of the ghetto. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven, above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, I'm a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. This was what the word of the Lord was. All right, anything stick out to y'all from that?
I'm a jealous God.
I'm a jealous God, right?
Mm-hmm. And then he cursed people down to the generations, Lord.
Yeah, right. That's deep, right? He's like, not even just, I'm gonna curse generations if you
The
get
great grandchildren.
About
Great-
10 business days. 8 to 10 business generation.
So the other scripture I want to lift is Psalm 78. In Psalm 78, David, who is the author of the Psalms, he's kind of talking about the same thing. And he talks about, in his own words, kind of what happened during this Exodus period. So Psalm 78:56, he says, but they put God to the test and rebelled against the Most High. They did not keep his statutes. Like their ancestors, they were disloyal and faithless, as unreliable as a faulty bow. They angered him with their high places. They aroused his jealousy with their idols. When God heard them, he was furious. He rejected Israel completely. Somebody say completely.
Completely.
All right. And so, after reading that, tonight we're going to go a little bit with, there's a guy named Frank Powell who's a popular blogger. He introduces us to 8 questions that reveal your heart's desire and challenges your relationship with God. Tonight, we're going to use some of Frank's questions and responses to maneuver through our own commitments, our lack of, with God. We'll gather the info, we'll evaluate the results, and we'll come to a conclusion and challenge ourselves to a healthy response. So the first question that we're going to have a conversation about tonight, and you can chime into at home, if everything was taken from you and only God was left, would God be enough?
Yes.
He would have everything.
I want you to answer that.
I'm about to say, I'm not about to quickly answer
I was
that.
going to say, if everything was
bro.
taken from
Be
you,
honest.
everything, and only God was left, I mean everything, your health, your wealth, everything, and only God was left, bam, like Job, would God be enough?
I know what the right answer is.
I'm asking for this right. I'm asking for the truthful answer.
I want to say yes. I do, but Because I sit back sometimes and I try to figure out, like, when all this was happening to Job, like, when his wife said curse God and die, I wanted to be like, baby, you might have a little point there. You know what I'm saying? I just don't know. You know, like, man, I've been doing all this for him, and then he gonna let the devil in my camp. You know, like,
True.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this. God would be enough, but I would definitely miss everything. God would be enough, but I definitely miss everything.
And if you don't know the story of Job, we were actually going to get into this, but right, if you don't know the story of Job, Job was a person who loved God very much, dedicated his life to God. He and God and the devil have a conversation about Job. Right? The devil's like, look, I see Job, and I can guarantee you that Job don't love you as much as you think. Let me at him. God's like, listen, I love Job. Job loves me. This is a one-on-one relationship right here. That's my ace. And the devil's like, I don't believe it. Let me try him. And so God gives the devil permission to test him. And so in this test, in this trial period, right, Job loses everything. His wife, his family, they all die.
All his money, his land, his sheep,
everything, right? His the things he made profits with, his health. It's like you get the word that your whole family's wiped out, and you get cancer at the same time.
No, that's all right.
The question is, if that happens, is God enough?
Let me tell you, some people online said. Someone said yes, but I think they answered that prematurely. Lauren said, no, I think I would be angry with God instead. Derek, squad member, we miss you. He said, I don't know, man. I've been pretty angry at God when I thought I didn't have anything left. And then Lauren also commented and said, definitely something I need to work on.
It's so hard to say, like, yeah. I think like everybody who's saying yeah right now, like, it's hard to just jump out and be like, yeah, I'm good, when you're not really in that situation. Like, to think you lost everything.
They repo your car, your house burned down, your kids died.
Like, most of the people I know, they stressing out over, like, very first world kind of issues, you know, like, and they talking about losing everything. You're gonna be okay,
and you can't even survive with your phone getting cut off.
Yeah,
nah, baby, I can't do it.
I don't know, man. I feel like I
they put you in Facebook jail and you can't comment. Maybe I be done. You know what I'm saying? You know, and you can't comment. Facebook jail, and you talking about, oh my God, I just cannot see everybody's posts.
Why, Jesus?
No, why are you mistaking me? So to lose everything, everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yo, that's tough, man.
Like, you become poor, sick,
homeless,
all that at the one time. Nah, I don't know.
That's gonna take some.
Let me get this thing.
We spoiled. That's gonna take some serious praying, some serious forgiveness, some serious love, care, tenderness. It's gonna take a whole bunch of all that stuff that we're not accustomed to having to deal with on a day-to-day.
And I would love to say I wouldn't go to drugs, but you know, you might need to escape for a quick minute and then get back to drugs. You know, like, oh, you took that too, baby? Lord, I got to go. I don't know what I'm gonna do. You know, I can't take an aspirin or Tylenol. Nothing. You ain't got nothing. You can't even get the money to get the drugs or the alcohol. Nah, baby, no.
My brother in the back had a television.
So I think it's interesting that the comment was made. You see a lot of people complaining about first world problems, because I think it's really at our worst and at our lowest that our true faith really emerges. You know, and sometimes you would think that you would lose faith by losing the tangible or the the luxuries that we have, but it's in those most trying times when we lose loved ones, when we lose jobs, when we lose our houses burned down, we're in really dire straits, that faith really comes to the surface, because that's the only thing that's left, right? And so that's really where I think people find their closest relationship with God, when they're forced to ignore these distractions because they're no longer there. And it's like, so what is really, what is our soul really made of? And it is that connection to the Lord that we lean on in those times.
Give him your seat.
He can come
here dropping nuggets. You dropping chicken nuggets out here now.
We do have somebody online. Lauren said, thank you for being so participate so much, Lauren. Lauren said, I had a moment where I thought I was going to lose everything. And that's all it took. Just a feeling that I would be on the street with my kids was enough for me to be angry with God. I can't imagine if it actually happened.
I mean, that's real. Like, all right, let's think about real life. Real life. You got people who, like y'all said, phones get cut off. Let's say you lose a job. Because we know this day and age, so many people are so fickle when it comes to actually working hard for their income. You think any old excuse is a reason to quit the job.
Are you doing the kill?
But you don't think about what's going to happen after you actually quit that job.
Yeah.
So you just mad at the universe because you now have no income. Now you cannot pay your rent or mortgage or the person you were staying with, whatever the case may be. And now something that happened with the car. But you can't get the car fixed at this point. So now you feel like you've completely lost everything based on your own decisions, but you've never decided to actually lean on the only one person that you were supposed to be leaning on the whole 9 yards, the whole time. But you're mad at the universe. You're mad at everybody. Everybody is the issue. Everybody's the problem at this point. But the problem, thank you, has never been exactly what you decided to do and your own decisions. I mean, that's present day. Like, you know, as a supervisor, I see so many people that don't want to work. And then when they get what happens from not wanting to work, car insurance get dropped, but then you get in a car accident. But guess what? You don't have no insurance now because you don't have the money to pay your insurance. Now the car's gone. Well, your car's gone, and you want to use that money on an Uber, on a Lyft, but now your rent's late. So now you get ready to lose the place. But that's the present day. This is what happens present day. I see it literally all the time. But it's what happens when you don't make the proper decisions, when you don't lean on the right understanding, and you don't lean on the right way, when you don't pray, when you don't humble yourself. These are the simple things that happen on a day-to-day basis, and I literally see it all the time.
Shireen says, Shireen, she says, having God will be something. However, I would have to get to a place where he's enough because my flesh will get in the way and I feel betrayed by God and have to now work through every emotion to get back to that place of trust again.
That makes sense.
So the question, I guess, is do you lose trust in God, right? It's like, because at that moment, you lose everything.
I think for me, it's like, if the moment happens, like if God gave you a heads up, would it make a difference if he didn't? Like would your faith be different? Like with Job, like, I don't remember correctly, but like, I don't know if God came to him.
Nope. He didn't.
But like,
no warning.
But like, even in his story, like his flesh he was battling the whole time. It was just.
He definitely gets frustrated.
Yeah, like for my answer is, he would be enough, but I wouldn't at moments.
It takes me wrong for me. I grew up with it.
Does it also beg the question, did I ever trust God anyway? Did I ever recognize the need for God in my life? I think sometimes we, particularly as Christians, think that when we sing the right songs and we say the right prayers, that we have a relationship with God. But if God is going to be enough, then there must have been, there should have been a connection with God while all those other things were being collected. Otherwise, why would you even know that God is there in the midst when all the other stuff is gone if you never had that real connection with him in the beginning? So it's a hypothetical question, but it's also a very gut-wrenching one. You can say, I love everybody, but let the wrong person do you wrong. And then you discover that I really don't love everybody.
That's why I never leave with that
I thought I did, God. You might got a thing with two to
discuss. So that's number one. The second question is this. Who in your life can you, and we're following up a little bit with what something that kind of was discussed during our icebreaker earlier, a recipe for forgiveness, but is there anyone in your life you cannot forgive, you don't want to forgive, and why?
Ton, because I don't want to.
No, seriously.
Not for real. Not for real.
I can. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
I choose not to.
Yeah, I choose not to. Like I don't want to get over it right now. And
That's true.
where patience comes in. Honestly, like in humbleness and
And you,
understanding.
and you know, sometimes the people that you don't want to forgive, or you just can't forgive, you just don't. Sometimes you have moved past it. I mean, well, if you haven't forgiven them, then you might not have moved past it. But it just might not be something you want to confront at that time. And then like the energy you would have to put into like working that through, you might could put that to so many other things at that moment. And so I think it does. I do piggyback on I just don't want to, because I've had people I'm like, I don't care. Like, all right, whatever, bye. And you have to sometimes weigh those relationships, depending on who that person is. You don't need to like ask their forgiveness, because you done already moved on in your life, Dad. If your life, if what you do don't affect my daily life, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real talk. Real, and like if like you being mad, like over there, don't affect my income, my relationship, my electric bill, my Wi-Fi, or my stream. Oh, Hulu. I was gonna go down the line. If that really don't affect it, then sometimes those relationships you could just be like, man, I don't even care. All right, you still mad? You be mad. I'm over it.
But it's not like those people are. The question is, are you, the people you don't want to
I
forgive?
guess you
or
forgave.
can't
You don't care. It's like
Sometimes the situation gets to a point where you just like, all right. I mean, you know that word ABCD.
Okay, but CJ, you said sometimes you don't want to forgive people.
Well, yeah,
So
there's
for those people, those are people that you obviously have some type of feeling towards because you choose not to forgive them.
So when I
People
say
that I don't have any feeling towards, forgiveness never even comes up because they no longer exist.
I still think there's a level of like letting it go, but when it comes to someone who I genuinely care about, I mean, you got a lot of people here are close friends and family of mine. You guys know, like, I generally do tend to forgive people I care about, but that's because I care about you. When I don't forgive you, it's more than likely because I just really don't care. Like, it wasn't like, for me, it wasn't that big. It just was like, all right, well, it is what it is. Like, what you're saying, like, you don't really play a critical role in my life. You're not somebody I really had to interact. Like, it doesn't really matter. It does mean nothing to hold on to it. So it's just kind of like, it's not a matter that I don't forgive you as much as it isn't really relevant. Yeah, it's not really relevant.
So it doesn't hold that much weight.
Right. But if it's somebody who I care about, then yeah, it's a whole different game. Because if somebody I care about, then it's like, yeah, now we got to work through this. Especially with somebody who you know, as a man, it's hard to say this, but it's somebody who I can't do without in my life. Nah, we got to work this out. Like, nah, I can't go without this person. Nah, we're gonna work that. We're gonna work that.
I feel like that's two different instances of conversation, because if it's someone that you typically don't care about, then there's no reason to seek forgiveness or for you to forgive them or for them to forgive you, because you simply just don't care. Like, and if anyone that knows me knows there's a lot of things, a lot of topics I simply just don't care about, because like you said, it literally does not matter.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't think about it. Like, I don't think about it at night. It's not gonna wake me up out of my sleep. But
I think about it as it
I literally
happens.
just don't care. So I don't need forgiveness. I don't need to be forgiven, or whatever the case may be. But for the ones that I do care about, in terms of forgiveness, I think that it's important to yield towards forgiveness, just as you spoke, you know, just a second ago, because we need to fix this. Yeah, for sure.
So online, we have some people that have commented. We have Ms. Lori Ross White. She said, this goes back to if you lost everything. She said, I've been in a situation where I was considered homeless, sick, and unemployed and broke. Because those are two different things. Unemployed and broke are two different things. But I never got angry with God, but with the people who were supposed to be there for me.
All right.
Okay. Donald Slaughter says you can forgive a person and still not want to have a relationship with them. We definitely agree. We definitely agree.
But we all agree.
We all agree.
I'll forgive you over there.
Lauren said, I think sometimes when you have been hurt, it's difficult to forgive because you're still healing from that pain.
That's good.
Baby, you talking
There we
about.
go. Forgiveness was never supposed to be empty.
Throw it at the phone. Lord! There you go.
Kim, you were about to say?
forgiveness was never supposed to be instantaneous. I think that's a error that not only Christians make, people make. Nowhere in the Bible does it say as soon as something happens, snap, okay, forgiven. You take the time you need to heal, but it's that holding on to it to a point that is no longer serving you that you have to ask yourself, why am I holding on to this? What am I trying to get out of this? Am I trying to get them mad? Because I've seen people hold forgiveness thinking they're hurting the other person, and really they're only hurting themselves. And then there's a lot of people I've seen who have made mistakes who aren't forgiving but want to be forgiven. So we have to be careful as people who are calling ourselves Christians, not to be instantaneous forgivers, but not to be instantaneous, I'm holding it for the rest of my life, forget you, you know who I am, you know where I'm from. You know, we all got that speech that we have that we lean on and use that as our crutch to say, that's why I'm not going to forgive you. But be careful because, you know, just like you say, judge not yet ye be judged. He wants us to forgive 7 times 7 times 7. Well, if you're not willing to forgive, then how are you going to ask him for forgiveness?
Right.
True. But wait. I'm going to challenge that. So I hear that, but when are those situations in life like we spoke of where you just don't care enough that situation really didn't wound you that bad? Where you just like, all right, cool, I'm done. And you walk away from them. It's not that you hold it over, you hold a grudge. But like Eddie said earlier, like you see that person and they just don't exist to you no more. And it's not that you're mad, it's not that you have not forgiven them. It's just that like, okay, you know what, I see that me and you that ain't gonna work. Because I've had a situation where I met someone and off the break I knew I didn't like them. Seriously. They said one word and I was like, I'm not, I don't care. And I just kept it moving after that, like, you know, because it was just like, and I see them now or stuff like that, and it's like, okay, you don't exist to me. And it's not that I even have a grudge with you or that they even did something to me. It's just that, like, I don't feel like wasting that energy to, like, even interact with you or even engage in that anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what's the difference in holding a grudge and just being done?
Well, only you would know that. Because that's when you have that personal relationship with God. You have that conversation. You say, Jane, me and Jane have a situation. Is it true forgiveness? Am I forgiving? If you have that relationship with God, you have that conversation and say, like, I'm either dismissing Jane or I'm holding a grudge and I'm telling myself. I'm kidding myself and saying, I don't have a problem with Jane, but really I'm like, oh, wish she would. She blinked wrong and I'm on it. You know what I'm saying? So you got to know, you got to be real with yourself, your relationship with God, and then you decide if that's a real problem or not. If you've dismissed it, truly dismissed it, and it's not a thing of forgiveness, then you're good. But some people say that, and it's really about forgiveness. Now, you got to really know yourself.
I think that just quickly piggyback on that. If you see that person that you don't care about or don't have a feeling about, whatever the case is, and then you feel some type of way when you say, like, if they can change your energy, then I think it's something that you haven't let go.
There you go. There you go.
When I say that I've let go, you have no effect on
me at all.
My mood.
Your peace.
Yeah, I'm at peace. I can see you. I can even speak. We're good. Hey, how you doing? I hope everything is good with you. Keep it moving. I'm fine.
Walk on back. Hold on.
And this conversation's over.
But it's very difficult to hear, for me to hear brothers and sisters say, I just don't care, you know, about something or someone, when that in and of itself leaves the connotation that a wound is still open. So perhaps the language that we use or tell ourselves can be systemic of that additional work that needs to be done in there. I think the brother here said something very powerful. If it kicks up anything, then that needs to be looked at and dealt with because it has not been resolved.
That's true.
And language can be very, very tricky at times because we can say one thing using one set of words and mean something totally different. So, you know, we have to I think we have to be, I have to be careful with myself when I say, you know, something annoys me or I don't care about something, because then when I go back into that little private space that I can venture into, I discover that there's still something there about that person or that situation that I have not resolved. And sometimes I'm not ready to deal with it. And sometimes I may not want to deal with it because it kicks up too much. But that's all my stuff. It doesn't have anything to do with the other person.
A friend of mine was when I thought about this question, a friend of mine who confessed to me later in life that he was molested by his older brother. And he's LGBTQ and so is his brother. But he struggled with it. He finally told me he was just beginning to work through the forgiveness of his older brother. And he said, you know, I was angry for so long, and even to an extent that I didn't even realize that I was angry. But I was. So there was this bitter resentment that was being held that he didn't even know he was holding on to. And this tension. And it wasn't like him and his brother didn't go out places or hang out, you know, together or do things. It was just, you know, he had pushed it sort of down beneath the surface, and then it eventually kind of came back up as he got older. And he's talking to me because he was like, "Man, I didn't even realize I was dealing with this, you know." And I'm just starting to have to forget. And he didn't even know whether or not to talk to his brother, but he actually did finally have the conversation. So I think there are moments like that, right? That it's the question of, you know, can I forgive? Do I even recognize that I need to forgive? Because sometimes you don't even recognize that you need to forgive. And then there's the other thing. We talked about something earlier about self-love. There's also a cousin of mine who was actually, as he was growing up, his mother was pretty much almost killed in front of him. They went in an elevator together, and the mom, a guy walked into the elevator, and he started to attack her, and she told him to run. And he ran home, and the robber, he killed her there in the elevator. To this day, he has not totally dealt with that, and to the point now that he's incarcerated. And so, a lot of that, what I see in him is that he's never forgiven himself for leaving. You know what I mean? So he doesn't even know how to deal with that. And psychologically, it's caused him so much damage because he's held on to it that it's killing him on the inside. And the question, right, is how do I forgive, right? When do I forgive? Because sometimes I don't want to forgive myself for not being there for my mom. I don't want to forgive myself because if I stayed, maybe things would have been different. Maybe I could have stopped. It doesn't matter. I was a little kid, but maybe my yell, maybe I could have, you know, beat up a little bit to distract. Maybe all those questions resonate in his head, and the questions over and over again, how do I forgive myself for something I don't know if it could have changed something or not? With my friend who had the brother is, how do I forgive him, and he don't even know what's going on?
Oh, yeah, you know.
Well,
he don't know that it hurt you.
You're right.
You really don't? Really?
No.
Really? You should.
I don't think his older brother, because they were both very young.
They were children.
So I don't think his older brother understood the weight that he carried for the years, you know, following the situation. But it's interesting because we talk about this forgiveness, and in Matthew, right? The question that somebody mentioned earlier, right? It says Peter comes to Jesus and asks, "Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times?" Jesus says, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times." And in some Bibles it reads, some Bibles read 70 times 7. In other words, God looks for us to forgive just as He forgives us. And so, the absence of your father, or your gossiping cousin who went and said some things about you, or the person who abused you, or yourself, right? Like, there's a continual act of forgiveness. If we're not willing to forgive, then you really can't say you're that passionate about Christ, because it is a part of Jesus' DNA. Right. It's in Jesus' DNA that we're supposed to be forgiving people. Remember the folks who came to talk to take Jesus away, right? They come to take Jesus away, right? And they reach out for him, and Peter goes and cut his ear off, right? And
Jesus put it back on.
And Jesus puts it
What
back on.
type of mess is that? Oh, I'm gonna calm down.
But then we're getting ready to take Jesus to die. Right? So just think about it. You are so in tune with God, and we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks, being in tune with God. You're so in tune with God that even when your haters come, you're aware that you're aware that that not just know that you love them, but you're aware that there's purpose in every situation. Can you be that in tune with God that you're aware that there's a purpose even when there are people doing you wrong? Because remember, even on the cross, the act of forgiveness was still very present, right? Up on the cross, right? The thief was right beside Jesus. He's like, look, I don't know all this stuff that they doing to you, but I can tell something special, something different. I'm trying to go with you. You talking about this place. I'm trying, wherever this place, I know a place, right? He's like, I want to go. And Jesus Jesus looks at him, he's like, all right, cool, you're going. Just like that. He asked and he's gone.
That's dope.
And the question, right, this question is so important is because it's that question of if somebody's doing you wrong or somebody's hurting you or somebody's betrayed you or somebody's torn your name down, are you able to look and say, I get it. I get it. It's all good. It's all good. You pulled the gun out, but it's all good. It's all good.
No, not yet. I'm working. I'm a work in progress.
I actually had this conversation today. It depends on my mood.
It's real. That's real.
Right there. On some days I'm here where you know what, it's all good. Like I'm not tripping, like I'm good. And then there's other days where I got time. All the time you need.
I'm here for it.
It depends. It's no in between. It's either here or it's here. Yeah. But we going somewhere.
Donald says, I keep hearing the word energy. Energy is everything, so it's important to cut people out of your life whose energy is bad and negative. Lauren says, toxic to your mental health. I'm going to move forward. Our next question is this. What do you sacrifice the most for?
Are we supposed to answer?
Yeah.
Wait, give us like 10 seconds. Hold on. What do you sacrifice?
Nowadays, my mental health. I do sacrifice the most for mental health at this point. Because I realize that without that, it's literally nothing else.
That's so true.
That is important that you can do, and it took me a long time to realize that my mental health is more important than anything else. Because if I'm not okay up here, nothing else around me is okay.
That's so
not
true.
The job, not the family, not the friends, not the money, nothing is okay if I'm not okay up here. So I sacrifice the most for that, and I'll do what it takes.
My inner peace.
I was going to say same. Peace.
Me too.
I'm gonna say both. The mental health. I totally agree with both, but the mental health is big. I didn't realize how important mental health was until I got into a stressful job, and I saw it start to take effect on me physically, to the point where like I was yawning like a dope fiend. You know how dope fiends yawn for like 30 minutes? I was like, what is wrong? And like I started having shakes and stuff. So I'm like, and my boss be like, go take a walk, because I was so stressed at work and mentally like everything seemed like way bigger than what it was. And you overthink things and you want it to be perfect, and you got to realize it's about progress, not perfection. And so it takes time for you to get things together. So my mental, I would come home, have mood swings. I was spending frivolously just to make myself feel better because of the mental stress I was under. And if you don't take care of that mental health, you will get sick. They've already proven that when you're stressed, your body releases bad toxins into your brain, produces bad toxins. I sacrifice the most for my mental health as well. I'm with you, Eddie.
I want to add to that question as well. What do you spend your time and your money on?
Oh wait, now you getting too much. You too much in my business. Somebody answer.
Anybody else can answer. I feel like I've talked enough.
Me too.
Yeah, Debbie. Just doing your time.
Alina, Jillian, Teron.
Wait, so online someone said, forgiveness allows me to move to the next without anger, contempt, or seeking revenge. It frees me. Tara, hey Tara. Tara said, even family, even when that seems to be the hardest. I don't know what that
She was replying to Derek, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Lauren said she sacrificed.
Lauren said I sacrificed the most for family. Shireen said peace of mind as well.
What do you spend your time and your money on?
Why?
Why?
That's your business.
I'm curious.
You said what?
Where do you spend your time and your money? The
Most?
most. Honestly, though.
Honestly. Now, I can speak for now. Most of my time, I'm actually in the Bible more than anything now. And music, honestly, is a therapy to me. So, yeah, that's basically most of my
Where
time.
you spending it before?
Huh?
Where were you spending it before?
What was I spending on before? Clothes, shoes, materialistic things. You know what I'm saying? Some things that can easily be replaced. You know what I'm saying? So,
Oh, that's true.
yeah.
Someone online said food. I spend the most money.
Yeah,
on
that's
food.
it.
I'm down.
Yes,
No one else thought you
baby.
were like, oh my god. I was like, whoever said that.
That's Lauren.
Because when he said it, I was like, I know what
Don't talk about your
you
spending.
I know what you
Food.
be thinking, but that's what he said when I spend my money on food, bro. Like, oh my god, Danny's. Oh my god.
Where you see to spend your money and your time?
Shoes, fitted hats.
You are shoe money. Yeah, that's right.
Shoes, fitted hats.
Yeah.
Time, work. I just work all the time.
Yeah.
To be a boss, you gotta work all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anybody else?
I would say I spend a lot of time on my film. I'm not sure where my budget went, but I
Debbie is
a lot of money
Debbie.
on this film.
If you guys don't know, Debbie is making a movie. She's filmed her first movie, so we're proud of her.
With my blessing, my name is on the film. I want to make sure everyone knows he's doing it for me. It's my project.
So a lot of
Make that very
times,
clear.
a lot of times I like to reference. A lot of us in here have a good. One of our favorite books is Think and Grow Rich, and there's a chapter in there called Sex Transmutation, and in that chapter it talks about the fact that there are a lot of times when we as people we get to this place in our lives, maybe even when you're going through your adolescence or whatever, and you seem to spend a lot of time on maybe having sex or thinking about sex or going to get sex. And especially for men, there seems to be this period where that's all you want to do is run and have sex, right? It's all you can think about. And
You're not on the panel.
You gotta read the book. You're going somewhere. You have to have read the book. You're going somewhere. Follow.
yeah, this is the unchurched church, guys. The unchurched, so we keep it real. But in the book, like there's a part where it talks about sexual orientation. It talks about the fact that you oftentimes will do anything to go have sex, and a lot of things that men especially, I'm not saying women can't, but men especially can relate to this. You will go and sneak out your mama's house.
Steal the car.
You'll steal the car. You'll sneak somebody in the house. You go. I mean, anything you can do to get to what you're trying to get to. You can find real resources.
MacGyver overnight. Pencils and a string. I'm gonna make this work.
He's in 20 minutes,
And what he says is sex transmutation is that what if you took all the energy that you put towards sex, or in our context, anything that shoes, hats, lying, cheating, food, your passion, right? Whatever those things are, and you put it towards. In the book, he talks about putting it towards your passion and your work. But the question I think for us would be, what if you took all that energy and that time and you put it towards your relationship with Christ, right? So, right, who or what receives the largest majority of your time, your money, your energy, and your resources? Frank in the blog says this. Here's what I found, and I love this quote. He says, "If God is not the one thing you sacrifice most for, you will sacrifice God when your one thing is threatened."
Ooh. Say that. Wait, what?
It was good.
Say it again.
If God...
Hey, that was bars, bro.
Wait, hold on. I gotta fix my chair. Say it again.
Monism.
Monism.
Freakism. If God is not the one thing you sacrifice most for, you will sacrifice God when your one thing is threatened.
Jeez.
That's like some Kevin Gates right there.
Gee.
Well,
let's sit there for 2 seconds. Hold on. I'm glad we ain't discussing that one because I don't want to have to go.
I throw one for Frank.
I'm throwing it right at Frank. What length would you go to for your education but not God? What length would you go to for your job but not God? What length would you go to for food but not God? What length will you go to for sex, but not God? What length will you go to for alcohol and drugs, but not God? What length will you go to for your friendship, but not God? What length will you go to for your family, but not God? What length will you go to for fame, but not God? Right? The question is, what length are you going to for all of these things, but you don't put the same energy and effort into your relationship with God? I don't want to say that all these things are wrong to go after, but the question is more of which one takes dominance over your own personal desires. Frank says this: if you sacrifice more for status, fame, knowledge, etc., than you do for an intimate relationship with God, you will do anything to protect the status of fame and knowledge, including lose your intimate relationship with God.
Are we done? I'm trying.
I know it's tough, right?
Yeah, you know, like, ooh, you feel that? Everybody just
sinking in the seat. You got me sinking in the seat right
now. Like, I know, like, you know, like, it's like when you know something, but then somebody actually, it's like when you get confirmation of it. Like, you know, like, you think you're pregnant, but then you find out you take the test, you're like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. That's what that is, because you know you do that.
Yeah.
But when you put it in those words and you put it in front of our face, it's like, dang, that's what I be doing? That's how I do. Ooh. Dang.
I know people want to argue on this one. Here's my thing is, right? I'm guilty. I feel guilty, so I gotta like.
Look, ain't nobody even comment no line.
Take it off. Like, here's the deal. When these kind of things happen, my thing has always been, you'll have this like, God wants you to go here kind of thing, like that experience. Like, it's like, you know, you want to have that relationship, but I understand with him you got to sacrifice things. And in my head, I'm like, there's some things I like that I don't think he's gonna give back to me, and I don't want to go yet. So it's like, I see you over there. But give me a minute, like I gotta, because it's like, so stay right there, hard. It is so hard because I remember when we've had this conversation before. I would think about, like, everyone knows me. I'm really big on like work. I want to, like, my work ethic. I've grown over time to become this person who loves working, like, and just trying to build myself. What if God, in my head, I'd be like, oh, what if God's work pulls you elsewhere into somewhere I don't like? And everybody's like, well, you know, he's going to take you somewhere you love. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen a lot of different jobs he puts people in. Don't like any of them. So it's like I struggle with that. You know, I struggle with that so much. Like,
you know, he put him there.
I don't know, but I'm just saying, see, I knew something was going, but that's just what I think. No matter how clever that's how I feel. I get that may not be true, but it's my truth. That's genuinely how I feel. That's why for me it'd be sometimes be such a struggle, because it's like, if I take, like, yeah, but I'm good right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I already got the joint laid out, mapped out, blah blah blah. And I know, as a person who was raised by a lot of people who were in the church, everyone's like, it's better over here, and I'm like, I hear you, but I'll talk about that when I make that leap. But for now, this is where I'm at, man. That stuff's just so hard when I be thinking about, like, giving that 110%. It gets tough.
That's like, okay, so I'm going to read this, but I'm going to piggyback on that too. That's like you're at a job that you really love. You make it 100,000 plus, 6 figures. And God's like, nope, go into ministry. And you're like, huh?
30,000?
Huh?
What was Kristen on that?
Because I got enough food. Like, and you like, God,
what? They child on 30,000.
I'm not going to go into Fogo, but it's Deshaun actually. But yeah, like, I'm with Charles. Like, God, I trust you enough to, like, know you gonna hold that for me until I'm ready.
And that's so messed up. That's so
I trust you enough to hold, because I'm not ready to do. My life don't really. So is it a reprogramming? Hold on, let me read the text. Lauren said this, and this is so true. She said that really made me think. I would spend my last dime for them soft batch cookies, but not put the last drop of gas to go to church. I don't like this. I don't know. Y'all telling me about myself.
I need a stronger faith.
She said, I need a stronger faith.
But listen, it takes us into our very last thing. I love what you all are going because it says this. His last question is your relationship with God burdensome?
Ooh.
Is it burdensome?
Tell me how to make it non.
The article quotes a preacher who says most Christians give just enough of their lives to God to make them miserable.
Ooh.
I'm gonna repeat. Most Christians, the article the blog quotes another preacher who says most Christians give just enough of their lives to God to make them miserable.
Wow.
So often, y'all, we give church, prayer.
Nobody like this guy heavy real
Tough, man.
So often we make church, prayer, Bible secondary. It's like those things become the results of trying moments that remind us to give some attention to God. Say that again. So often, this is Mo speaking. So often, it's like those things become the results of trying moments that remind us that God needs some attention.
So you get all them trials.
Our relationship with God is more reactive than proactive.
Good God,
when it should be the opposite.
Ain't nobody comment online or nothing. You know, people just over it. You make that ugly face.
And when we make God reactive, we allow other gods to take God's place. Fear, doubt, materialistic items, other relationships. Those things become our gods so go back to our story, right? We go back to the people and they didn't feel like God was what they wanted God to be at the time. And so they started to make all these other false gods, right? They found themselves sexually immoral, right? They found themselves lusting after they built statues that look like God. What are our statues, right? Is it our job? Is it our work? Is it our shoes? Is it our clothes?
Chick-fil-A?
Is it soft batch cookies? Whatever, right? We stand to make God, these other we make a God out of them. And how do we make a God out of them? Because we spend our time there. Because going to church on Sunday is a burden. Right?
No, I go to church. But it's about dedication.
It's not always a burden.
It's not. But it's not what we make the priority either.
She got me all watered up because I'm feeling terrible now.
So
coming all juicy up here.
So online, Lauren's been very active. Thank you, Lauren. She said it's not burdensome. It's just I'm just selfish. It's easy. It's easy to get off track when you cannot physically see God or not aware He's looking dead in your face. He's looking you dead in your face. She also said, I think if you think of a parent who is in the room with you, you are less likely to misbehave. Yet once they leave the room, you know you're going off. We want what we want. We want what we want when we want it, and that's true. Like.
Oh man,
Ramon, this was fun at the beginning. I really love it. I'm ready to go. May the Lord.
The scripture started with this: "You shall have no other gods before me."
Yeah.
If God has not been your priority, then perhaps you are a cheater exposed.
I knew it when you said the punchline. We need to come this far.
Do you have what's up to say?
Yeah, I actually do.
Yeah.
I feel, and maybe it's just me on this one, and excuse me if I do, but I feel like you're getting at this. Do we deserve forgiveness for how much we have cheated on God?
Of course I do.
I don't know that you ever truly deserve it.
Right.
But that goes back to that word grace.
Right. And I'm just putting all two together.
And so we go back to the beginning, right? And it's that question, right? Grace is important because we don't deserve the forgiveness that God gives us. And so do we give others that forgiveness because we definitely don't deserve it and God gives it to us? The question is, are we willing to give it to others? So the question that I have for you tonight is, are you ready to put God and God's plans ahead of your own? Are you ready to put God's plans ahead of your own? These questions have touched you or made you think, then perhaps you are a cheater that has been exposed.
See, hold on. See, I wanna let me talk about this real quick.
This is what cheaters do. We gotta explain.
You know what I'm saying? See what happened was.
Looking at it from that perspective, bro. You gotta like come around that jump. Let me explain it.
See, listen. This how I go. Listen,
That's how that happened.
this how it happened, right? See, I
Heard it
want.
all before.
See, I know. Come home late. See, this is the thing. See, I'm a cheater, okay, of God and stuff. And I'm exposed because all this last little bit you just kind of like steamrolled over. But the thing is, like, when you look at your physical life, like if you look at your life, right?
And now we're gonna say this will make it good.
This is so hard. This is so hard because this has a battle with faith. Like, okay, God, you want to go in ministry, right? Okay, I leave my 6-figure job going to ministry, but I got a car note. So wait, you saved for 6 months, right? Let's do the people that do it the right way. You just say, because they say you're supposed to have 6 months all your bills put aside. That should be in the saving. Like, and then that's not really saving. That's like your mercy fund. My mom was a real big believer of that, even though I never had one. So you do all that, right? And then all that runs out. And now you still got these same bills. And I get that you're supposed to have faith in God to like get it done.
Right.
But as humans, how do you take that anxiety out? Because I've been there. Well, like, you know what, God? I'm going to trust you on this one. And you know, because this actually is so funny, because this whole last segment goes to my encounter I'm doing next week where you do abuse of faith, reaching. Like, ooh, this is a bad one.
Yeah.
Like, so you go step out on faith, right? But is that abuse? Ooh, I'm done. I don't really have.
So
I don't know
thank
what to
you
say.
for tuning in.
I just don't have nothing to say. I'm done.
Shireen, thank you for tuning in.
Everybody.
Shireen says we all can recognize a good word. This is a word that will do some good. It has the ability to cause change, provoke thought, and reevaluate our relationships with God, others, and now we have to ask: is God really our first love? And if He is, why don't we remain faithful? That's a great way to.
Because my bills come every 30 days.
Thank you for tuning into The Well. We do this 3 Thursdays out of the month. If you want to join us, follow us on, again, our website or anywhere on social media. We love the fact that you tune in. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. If you want to give, because it does take money to keep The Well going, we want to be mindful that we have partnerships. It does take money to run the cost of the equipment. It does take money for us to move because we like to move from different neighborhoods at times. We also have hospitality that happens. If you want to give, you can do a couple of things. One, you can send that money to, you can use your mobile device and you can text 84321, any dollar amount. Just put in $1, $100. If you want to bless us with $1 million because God spoke to you tonight, that's cool too. Remember, where do you put your money and where do you put your time?
Don't be a cheater.
Don't be exposed. The Jordans that might came out, you might can put those to the side for God. We want you to text that dollar amount to us, and we'll receive it however you put it. Even if it's 50 cents, we will receive whatever's on your heart. The other way is you can make a check and you can send it. You can go on our website, and at the bottom there's an address. That address is to a church where you can send the check, but make sure to put The Well or via The Well in the subject line. I'm going to ask that Javon, who was called to ministry from $60,000 a year to ministry, that he'll come in and pray us out. Remember to go and like Amplify Network. Also, Church Minded Matter that happens on Tuesday nights on the Amplify Network. And also, there's a prayer daily at 6 o'clock a.m. that happens every morning at the Amplify Network. So please go follow, go and like the Encounter the Well page. And if you know someone who will be touched by this message, take this message and share it into an inbox and bless somebody. We love you. Thank you for the encountering. Thank you for becoming. And now you can emerge and share. Javon's going to pray us out.
Okay. So here's the way we do have a custom where we get ourselves in posture of prayer. Can everyone sit back? After this convicting word and confronting word, we gotta come on. Everybody sit back, feet flat on the ground. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One last time. Inhale. Exhale. Father God, we thank you, God. God, we thank you for you just being God and God all by yourself. God, we thank you for tonight, for convicting us, for challenging our thoughts, God, for helping us reevaluate our relationship with you, which should matter the most in our lives. God, first of all, forgive us for not putting you first, oh God. Forgive us for not always seeking you first on every decision. God, we're flesh, we're human, God, and you made us. So we thank you for you just being God. And God, we ask right now that you guide us, that you continuously pull on us, that you continuously convict us. It's words like this and discussions like this that help us realize that we're not giving you our all in all. And God, our true desire, our heart's desire is to give you everything. So God, we ask right now that you bless this ministry, that you bless this house, that you bless the Amplified Network, that you bless everyone in here that's represented, every family that's in here, God. God, we pray right now that as we leave from this place, that you would give us traveling mercies, oh God. Keep us from seen and unseen dangers, over the dangerous highways and the byways, God. God, we thank you for every viewer that viewed this. We thank you for every person that this will change, that this will reevaluate their thought process, God. God, we thank you for just being God.
Yeah, God.
God, we ask you all these things in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next week we're at Gethsemane, 910 Addison Road South. Same time, 7 o'clock p.m. We hope to see you there. Come out, and then we're live again in 2 weeks. So make sure you join us. You can be as part of our studio audience by just DMing us. Peace and blessings. Y'all clap it up.
I sure did. You made us. You made us. This is all your fault. All your fault. You made this thoughtful brain. You know what I'm saying? Mushy. You gave me that free will thing. I didn't ask for free will. I would have just been an angel.
Loki was like, Jesus, it's your fault.
She said we are right here. Where to go from there? We are. We are.